The following program contains sexual content. Viewer discretion advised.
All this week, we are delving into infidelity.
Her husband of nearly 20 years
I've been living a double life.
dropped a bombshell.
Nicole discovered her husband has been in a long-term secret affair. That affair is with a man.
I saw a text message. He sent a picture to this guy of his...
But this secret affair
This is much more than sex.
I have no feelings for the guy, though.
You don't know his name.
No, I do not. I never asked.
has a twist.
The private investigator found out who the man was. He can learn a lot about him on the sex offender registry.
Does that make you want to throw up?
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Welcome to season 22 of Dr. Phil. All this week, we're talking with couples who claim their partner has been unfaithful. Unfortunately, when it comes to infidelity, these couples are not alone because according to research, having an affair is one of the most frequently cited reasons for divorce. Nicole says she thought she knew her husband of nearly 20 years and didn't think he had any secrets to hide. But all of that changed when Nicole says she uncovered a secret her husband Carter had been hiding for years. So what did she uncover? Well, Nicole discovered that Carter has been having a nearly 4-year-long sexual affair with a man.
Disgusted what Carter has done to me and my family. When I found out that my husband was having a 4-year affair, I was yelling and screaming, just an utter state of shock. I saw a text message of my husband showing himself to his friend, chatting about having sexual relations. I could tell that it was from a man, not a woman, and I was stunned. He sent a picture to this guy of himself, of his... They were talking about doing things to each other that I can't even say out loud. He clearly wanted to be with another man, doing things with another man, according to what the text said. I decided to call him, asking what the is going on, and I showed him the picture and said, yeah, really, there's no lying about this. That's you. The conversation seemed like they knew each other for some time and very well. After 17 years, I thought I knew everything about my husband. Right now, I don't know who I'm married to. This is not gonna work until we get completely to the bottom of it and get completely honest.
Carter says he told Nicole absolutely everything about his affair, but Nicole disagrees and says he's still lying and there's more that he's covering up.
When I confronted Carter, Carter tried to tell me he had no idea what the picture was, what I was talking about. Absolute, utter denial.
First, I did lie, and then slowly told her more and more and more.
He insists that he doesn't know what this guy's name is.
I swear to God, I don't know his name.
I don't believe for a minute that he doesn't know this guy's name. I don't believe for a hot minute. He just has his phone number. But he's had his phone number for 17 years. Who does that? Who does that? Hey, I'm gonna hook up with this guy again. I'm having troubles. We're not having a great marriage right now. What? It's all just insanity. It doesn't make any sense. I ask, then you had sex with this other man? No, Carter tells me only thing we did was and sex toys. What Carter tells me is that it's just a sexual release. That's it. The sexual thing, who gives a who it is?
Because I felt comfortable with him 17 years ago or 18 years ago, and that's why.
I don't believe that for one flippin' minute. I asked Carter if he thought he was gay, and he said, no, I am not gay. What I don't understand is if Carter is attracted to men, why not just come out and be gay?
Now, you believe 100% he's not telling you the truth.
He's absolutely not telling me the truth. I believe 100%. Yes.
And let me tell you, my focus here is on the transaction between the two of you. I don't know whether he's gay or not. I think the worst thing in the world that you can do is force somebody to come out if they're gay, if they're not ready to, they're not in the circumstance that they want to do it. It's not the time that they want to do it. I mean, that's totally up to him. And it would be very disrespectful if he was to force that and cause him to do it when he's not ready to do it. But that's not the issue here. It may be an issue to you, of course it is. But the issue is he lying to you? Is he betraying you? Is he cheating on you? Is he now telling you the truth? Can marriages survive infidelity? Yes, they can. But it requires transparency and discussion and just really being honest with each other about what's going on.
Right.
Let's take the fact that it's a man out of it. Just that he is being intimately involved, physically involved with someone else. It is a betrayal either way.
Right, and lies, just all.
Right. And you believe that he is lying to you.
I do.
He's told you that he's been involved with this individual for off and on for 18 years and never picked up their name?
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I mean, because you'd think that would come up in
Right.
casual conversation or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't seem credible to you.
No.
And the other man won't answer your calls, right?
He will not.
And you think that's because there's a bigger secret there?
I do. I think this guy's got something going. I think there's some deep stuff
Now,
going
he
on.
was involved with this person before your wedding, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and you've been married how long?
17 years.
So this predates the marriage because they've been
Correct.
knowing each other for 18 years.
Correct. Or
Okay.
longer.
And supposedly they were involved for 7 or 8 months 18 years ago.
7 or 8 months.
Well, he apparently has told you something different. Let's compare what he's told us with what he's told you. Shall we do that?
Yeah.
Because there are some inconsistencies, I think, between what you've told us, he's told you, and what he's told us. He first told you that they met at a bar 18 years ago, and it was just a drunk hookup. He told us that they met on Craigslist, and it was a fling that lasted 7 or 8 months, and it only ended because he left the area. Then he tells you that it was a few times a couple of years ago, right?
Yes.
But then he told us that it's been the past 4 years on and off for about 6 months out of the year. And that there were sexual texts 1 or 2 times a week. Is that different than what he's told you?
Yes.
Okay. And then he told you he went looking for him on Craigslist and found him. And he told us he went on Craigslist just looking for someone, anyone, for companionship. But he told you that he went looking for this guy whose name he doesn't know on Craigslist.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Right? How do you do that? How it doesn't happen. No.
This has had a profound impact on you, correct? Because you had trouble with alcohol in the past, but you've been clean and sober for how long?
14 months.
Okay. This happened 12 days ago, and you relapsed when this happened, correct?
I drank for 3 days.
You went on a 3-day binge? to just numb this
I don't
out?
want to feel the pain.
Well, Carter is here. He says his 4-year affair with a man was nothing but a sexual fling. He says it means nothing to him. And we're going to meet him after the break.
My sex life with my wife, Nicole, was non-existent for years. This man provided sexual gratification. My affair was just an occasional fling. I would only see this guy at his apartment. There were no conversations on the phone. It was all done in text, and they were just basically sexual.
And later, I wanted to know who this person was. And it didn't take very long to find out. I had a private investigator confirm the phone number. You know why he's in jail? Well, mixed orientation marriages where one spouse is gay and the other is straight take place more than you may think. The only problem is one spouse may not know they are in one of those. Carter says despite his wife discovering his affair with another man, he insists that's not the case here because he says he's just simply not gay.
The affair with the man started 4 years ago. My affair was just an occasional fling. This man provided sexual gratification for me. There was no emotions involved whatsoever. My sex life with my wife, Nicole, was non-existent for years.
I just want to know the truth.
I've never had feelings for this man.
Does this mystery man have a family? Is he cheating and lying? Do they have a special bond?
I do not know the man's name. I would only see this guy at his apartment. I never confided anything to him. There were no conversations on the phone. It was all done in text, and they were just basically sexual. Or are you free? Are you available? We might text once or twice a week. I did see him mostly during the winter seasons.
Carter also plays sports during the week, and they hooked up on those nights.
It was easier for me to get away then.
Carter would tell me that the game didn't start on time or the previous game ran late.
6 or 7 months ago, my wife and I were in the process of buying a new house, and I did end it with him. I did tell him I was moving out of state to do the right thing for my family.
We just moved to this house. How is this supposed to work? Are you kidding me?
I did reach out to him a few days before Nicole found out. I was horny. I have told Nicole everything that has happened. I am not hiding anything else.
I'm still angry.
I said to her before you joined us, if you decide and you feel strongly in your heart that you're gay or bisexual or whatever, that's your business. It's your time to say so whenever you choose to say so. I hate it when somebody pushes somebody to do something they're not ready to do, so you're not going to hear that from me. What you are going to hear from me is that you owe it to her to be honest about what's going on in this relationship. And to me, that's important whether you're with a man or a woman, whether it's been 20 years, 5 years, 4 weeks, whatever. So putting aside who it's with, there are inconsistencies in what you've told us and what you've told her, and they can't both be right. So are you being completely honest and transparent with her about what you're doing?
Yes.
Well, because you're telling us a different set of facts than you're telling her in terms of how you met and when you see this person and
7, 8 months before we met, you said it was a hookup, drunk hookup.
I told her that it was at a bar. That I met him at a bar. That wasn't true.
And a couple times, it happened a couple times. 7, 8 months.
It wasn't every day, though. It was a couple times through the 7, 8 months. It was on and off during the winter season.
On and off. Can we define what on and off really is?
look, there's not a dance card or a scorecard here. She's wanting to know how involved you are in this situation and if you're being transparent with her.
On and off was maybe a couple weeks in a row, and then nothing for a couple weeks, and then maybe nothing for a month, and then maybe a couple weeks in a row. That's
And
how
you don't know his name?
No, I do not. I never asked.
So you don't know his name? You don't know anything about him? I mean, he could be married, he could be a criminal, he could be a sex offender for all you know. You don't...
Correct.
You know nothing about him?
Right.
And I thought you went on Craigslist looking for him. You just went on Craigslist looking for someone for some companionship in the men seeking men section.
Maybe I was looking for him. Maybe he was out there, so I was looking at other men seeking men out there.
Went on Craigslist looking for
Maybe.
someone, anyone for companionship.
To see if he was out there, because that's how I found him the first time, and I was comfortable with him the first time.
That is not what they say that you said. Just such... Come on, man.
I'm telling you the truth, though. I met him on Craigslist.
And
We got together here and there. It depended on his schedule, my schedule.
so that's a
And
lot
that was-
more than a couple times in the last 4 years.
And that was on and off for maybe 3-4 years during the winter season.
This is much more than sex.
This,
No, I have no feelings for the guy, though. It was purely a sexual release for me.
Okay, Carter admits that if Nicole hadn't caught him, he may never have ended this affair. I'm curious as to why. I'm going to ask him after the break.
I was drinking every day. I was just a drunken idiot.
Nicole slapped me, threw drinks on me.
He had an excuse to live a double life.
I'm not putting the blame on Nicole, but I was thinking about leaving her.
If I hadn't caught Carter in this affair, there's not a chance he would have even admitted it.
Honestly, I don't know if I would have ended it. I'm glad Nicole found out. I wish she would have found out years ago, because this has been mentally exhausting. For the last 3-4 years, on and off, I've been living a double life. I was very shocked that Nicole has not found out sooner.
Well, it's been just 12 days since Nicole discovered her husband Carter has been in a long-term secret affair. As it turns out, that affair is with a man. Carter says he doesn't blame his wife for him searching for companionship with another man. But on the other hand, he really sort of does. Take a look.
When Nicole was drinking, she would be angry, loud, belligerent, obnoxious.
I was drinking every day. I was just a drunken idiot.
Nicole got physical with me a couple of times.
I showed up to family events drunk.
One time, Nicole slapped me. She threw drinks on me.
I understand why Carter didn't want to deal with my crap anymore. He had an excuse to live a double life.
Nicole's drinking put a huge strain on our marriage. It was affecting her job.
I went to rehab 2 times. Carter tells me that he did not cheat on me with this guy when I was in rehab.
I'm not putting the blame on Nicole for what I've done, but I was thinking about leaving her over the years.
So his point is you've not been easy to live with. And your attitude is you don't deny it, you don't make excuses for it, and if he had left you, you wouldn't blame him. But if that's the case, leave you, don't do this. That's your point?
And don't tell me that you love me and that you want to be with me. I can never believe a word out of your mouth again, ever.
Do you think this whole marriage has been a sham?
Apparently, because I don't know this man who is supposed to be sharing our life together. lying from, I guess not the beginning, but really from the beginning.
Well, again, this is not about whether he's gay or whether he's not, but I can tell you that people evolve across time. Their awarenesses evolve, their connection to themselves and who they are evolves across time. And trust me, there are people that start into relationships believing one thing, and as time goes on, their acknowledgement of who they are and their awareness has changed. So that doesn't mean that this has been a bait and switch or something from day one, or that it is now. But I understand. That's why I said, that aside, you feel a sense of betrayal, whether it's with a man or a woman, doesn't matter. That part aside, you feel a sense of betrayal here. Do you get that?
Yes.
In the past 8 months, you've only had any connection between the two of you, any intimacy between the two of you, like one time, right?
My 3-day binge.
It was during the 3-day binge? Who initiated that?
Me.
Mm-hmm. Why?
I wanted to feel close.
And how did you feel?
Close.
What do you want from him?
Just the truth. Just leave. If you want to leave, just leave. If you want to be with a man, be with a man. I don't
want to be with a man, no.
Well, apparently you don't want to be with me either.
I do want to be with you. You said you didn't want it, or you couldn't because of the medication, or...
Sex?
Yes.
I was trying to heal, and I'm sorry. That
You don't have to apologize.
I'm sorry. Just trying to learn how to live sober. And I just didn't feel any of that. I didn't want any of that. I'm sorry.
All right, we've got to take a
Not
break,
you.
and I've got an outcome, bottom line, determinative question about what's going to happen here when we come back for Carter. We'll be right back. I wanted to know who this person was, and it didn't take very long to find out. That him? Nicole says she's still in complete state of shock after learning her husband has been having an affair, apparently for a long time, off and on, he says. And even though he says he's been intimate with another man, he says he's not gay, he's not in love with that person, he doesn't want to be with that person. And that's really not what this is about, at least from my point of view. My point of view is the relationship dynamic between the two. Earlier this morning, I asked Carter to sit down with my colleague and very good friend, Coach Mike Baer. Now, Coach Mike is the CEO of Cass Centers, and he focuses on helping clients break free of destructive patterns, particularly behavioral patterns that are yielding results that they don't want. And a lot of those have to do with relationships. It doesn't have to do with mental illness. It has to do with us getting into behavioral patterns, individually and collectively, that are just yielding results that we don't want. And his New York Times best-selling book is called Best Self, Be You, Only Better. I consider him the best at helping people maximize their true potential and get out of these patterns. Here's what happened when he sat down with Carter.
Are you confused at all about your sexuality?
You know, I think I am, yes. I don't believe I'm gay. wasn't getting the sexual relationship from my wife that I had.
Why do you think you ended up with a man?
I just didn't want to deal with a woman at the time, in case I got her pregnant, in case I didn't call her back. I just wanted to get my sexual release and just move on.
What is it about a man that you enjoy?
It was, I don't know how to explain it. I knew he was there.
Uh-huh.
I basically would go in.
But you have no insight as to what about him turned you on?
No. At the time, you know, I was single, lonely. I was drinking a lot. I was probably depressed. I was probably, I don't know. Then I met my wife, Nicole, and there was nothing for years. And then whatever triggered my mind again, lonely, depressed, I don't know. And then I was looking for a man to get that release again, just because I was afraid I might get caught easier if I found a woman.
Do you think it's wrong to be gay?
No, I don't.
Could you be in a relationship with a man if you were single?
No. I like women. I don't know. I just don't think I could.
It seems to me that you're here because you want to make sure that your marriage stays intact.
Yes, that's...
And so anything you say, you may be scared that it could jeopardize that.
Yeah, but I don't, I mean, I've said everything, I've tried to explain everything, and I don't know how to explain it all right now.
Well, I think the missing link is you're not able to communicate why you're turned on by another man.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to figure out in my own mind, and it's not easy.
How'd you enjoy sitting down with Coach Mike?
It was good. Very nice, friendly.
Did you take anything away from it? Did it cause you to think about anything that you hadn't thought about before?
Yeah. That I need to figure out why. You know, and there's, like he said, I think there's like a missing piece, and I need to delve into the bottom of that in my brain and figure out what that missing piece is, and you know, come to the conclusion on why.
Well, coming to you, what'd you think about that conversation?
I thought that it was interesting. I just feel like there's something missing.
Coach Mike, what was your takeaway?
Felt like I was putting together a puzzle, and then every time I started to get a piece on the other one, it like morphed as soon as we got to something where I felt like, okay, this makes sense. So it felt like we were kind of grabbing smoke, and your default is to say, I don't know, or I'm confused. And I think you're just really scared to get honest about things.
Well, I said I had a really pivotal question for him that I think is outcome determinative to this whole situation that I want to ask him. I'm going to do it right after the break. Connor admits that if his wife of nearly 20 years had not caught him red-handed, he may never have ended his fling with this other man. Nicole says that she's reached her husband's lover, tried to reach her husband's lover with no luck. And I said, I've got a pivotal question for you. And so I want you to take a breath here and really listen to what I'm asking you here, because I think this is a real threshold moment for you. You have to make a decision to really come fully, transparently clean with this woman about everything. Your reflexive answer is, I'm telling her everything. No, you're not.
It's going to hurt a lot worse if you don't just bottom line it and tiptoe around it.
You're telling me you've been involved with this man 18 years and don't know anything about him, don't know his name, don't know anything about him.
Right, I don't.
That is irresponsible. If that's true, I would rather you be a liar. I wanted to know who this person was, and it didn't take very long to find out, because I had a private investigator confirm the phone number, that you've been communicating with that belongs to this man, and it's interesting. He confirmed that the phone number that Carr's been communicating with belongs to this man that we found, and he has a voicemail, and the voice on it is a man that's about the age that this person would be. You says the fling ended 18 years ago, which is 2001, because the man left the area. Well, actually, he did leave the area because he went to jail in 2001. And he's been in jail 7 of the last 14 years. The man was released from prison about 4 years ago. You reconnected about 4 years ago. That him?
Yes.
Thought so. Do you know why he's in jail?
I didn't know he went to jail, no.
Well, you can learn a lot about him on the sex offender registry. Count 1, causing a child between 13 and 18 to view sex. Count 2, exposing genitals to a child. Misdemeanor A. They dismissed that on the prosecutor's motion when he pled to the other thing, and he's on the sex offender registry until 2024. So that's 20 years on the sex offender registry. You said you knew his last name.
I found out from the mailbox of his apartment.
Yeah. But you think you'd want to know what I just told you?
Yes.
You say less, yes, like maybe?
No, yes, I would have liked to have known. Or... Sorry, I'm in shock right now.
Those are just a few of the charges. It goes on. The guys we fill in the screens. So I said I'd rather he be lying. Do you want to see the man? The picture?
Yes.
Well, I'll show it to you after the break.
My child thinks I'm a liar.
Our child is angry and not talking to Carter right now.
My child and I aren't as close as we used to be, and I miss that dearly.
Our child was home the day that I discovered the text. I did not reveal what the text said, but I remember the look of shock on our child's face.
My biggest fear is losing everything. My wife, Nicole, my child, our new home. I fear losing it all.
Nicole says her husband's affair has not only shattered her heart, but also destroyed their child's trust. Now, Carter says his child won't even look at him now, and obviously this has had a profound effect. What do you have to say to Nicole?
I'm sorry. I feel horrible.
Sex offender. Did you see the...
Yes, I saw that.
Does that make you want to throw up?
Yes, it does.
You keep going back to this guy. Does he know where we live?
No.
And you don't...
I'm in shock right now, too, and...
Come on.
Well, I just informed Carter about the man that he's been involved with. Before the break, I asked Nicole if she wanted to see a photo of him. Do you want to see that photo?
Yes. What is happening?
Nothing's happening now.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. there was sex.
There wasn't. He tried.
That is a
And I said no.
lie. Oh my God.
So you never communicated that anything sexual in nature to him?
Oh, I did.
Like?
Certain things I wanted to do, but never did.
Right, but you wanted to.
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
There's
So
no
can we
possibly yes.
Well, then yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If that's who you are,
But I don't
I'm not
believe-
going to
I-
love
I
you
don't
any less.
believe
I'm going to
that's
love
who I
you
am.
less for keeping this charade and lying. And if that's what you want, let's find somebody safe. Let's
I don't
not
believe that's
be
what I
doing
want.
something
I
with
don't
a
know right
criminal
now.
that has a sex offender record.
I don't believe that's what I want. I don't know right now. That's where I'm confused and torn and everything else.
Now, let me be selfish on your behalf for a minute. You have coped and self-medicated with alcohol in the past. Are you vulnerable to going back to that with all this weighing on you when you leave here?
Yes.
Because I don't want that to happen. And if you need support during that time, then I want to give it to you. Let me tell you, the first 14 months, they're the toughest. And you got through those, and you've had a rough patch here. I don't want that to get all thrown away here. And so if you need help with that, I've asked somebody to come here. This is Brooke McKenzie. Brooke is the director of clinical outreach for the New Method Wellness, and as well as Deanna Crosby, who is the director of New Method Wellness. And this is a treatment center that utilizes solution-focused therapies like equine therapy, nutritional counseling, as well as family therapy. And I asked them to come here because I knew that you had had a bad relapse, and I wanted to offer you the help and support, whatever it needs to be, to get through this time and not sacrifice everything that you've worked so hard for. You guys get what's happening with her here, right?
Absolutely. Nicole, one of the things I want to say is, wow, I'm really, really impressed with how you've shown up here today. And I want you to know that myself, Deanna, we're both here as your ally. We're both here as your advocate. It's so phenomenal that you've accomplished 14 months of sobriety. I can't imagine the work and commitment that required. We want to stand up for you today, be here to support you, nurture you, embrace you. I think one of the key items that we can offer you is a discovery path of kind of understanding what your truth is. And we want you to be with us, to be sober with us, and we want to lend you some of the tools that are going to be required for you to navigate through this. And with your relationship with your husband, we're going to be there for you through all of that, okay? And we hope that you'll accept that gift.
And one of the things that y'all do so well is involve the family in this. And I think you need somebody to help you untangle this ball of yarn. And I want to get you some professional help with that starting right now. And don't pull any levers in your relationship until you get this figured out. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Will you take that help?
Yes.
Do you want the help?
Yes, I think I need the help, yes.
Yeah, I agree. There are 7 questions you need to ask yourself to determine if your cheating partner deserves a second chance. Number 1, is this an isolated event or a pattern? Number 2, does your partner own his or her bad behavior or make excuses for it? Number 3, does your partner have insight into how he or she has hurt you? Number 4, is your partner sorry for his or her choice or sorry he or she got caught? Number 5, is your partner willing to change or is he or she in denial? 6, is this out of character or does your partner have an insensitive gene? 7, is this a legacy or a new behavior? I would like to thank all of my guests today and a special thanks to Mike Baer for helping us out. Tomorrow we have the first of a shocking 3-part episode. Brad says he can't choose between his wife, Michelle, and his girlfriend, Sarah. But that is not what is so shocking. You see, both women became pregnant and had a child with Brad just weeks apart. That all begins unfolding tomorrow. If you want to keep up with all things Dr. Phil, then scan the flow code on the screen. This will link you to exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Plus, you can follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, where I provide critical information on some of the most important issues we're facing today. And check out Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw, where she swaps secrets with thought leaders, innovators, and friends. Get in on the Secret Squad. Listen for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Today on Dr. Phil, he lost their entire $1 million retirement fund, some of it on women.
Women he met online, but never in person.
This is April. April and I are engaged. This lady is Jane. Her and her daughter are now being held in captivity. This is Sophie Preston. Sophie is mute, and she was in an auto accident.
She's a fashion designer.
She is. She's a very good one.
If she's a really good fashion designer, why is she homeless?
Fool for love?
Her attorney.
Her so-called attorney.
He robbed her.
Yes, and he'd been robbing her before, apparently, too.
I hate it when that happens.
Or just plain fool?
Show me a document that's not fraudulent.
Well, I don't have it on me.
Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
I want to be right.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, Robert and Jeremy got married in their 20s after meeting on a ski trip. Now, Jeremy supported her husband's career as a college professor with a PhD in meteorology and even got her master's degree also in meteorology, and they published some papers together. Both say they were best friends, loved traveling in their RV, and really just sharing their life together. But after 40 years of marriage, Jeremy walked out on Robert. She says she was blindsided after discovering he lost their entire $1 million retirement fund.
I believe my ex-husband Bob has lost his mind. When we retired, he began to get involved in the day trading. It was pretty much an obsession, 18 hours a day.
I lost a lot of money, didn't tell my wife about it. I thought I could make up for my losses.
Things were spiraling out of control. I went to charge something on a credit card, and the credit card was maxed out.
I had to tell her we lost everything.
We were broke. Our $1 million nest egg was gone. Bob became obsessed with making back that money. He would go online and find these women, and they would say they had a lot of money, but they couldn't get at it. And if he would just give them a little bit of money, then he would benefit with the larger amount of money once they got the money free.
Women ask for money for food, or they need medicine, or their mother needs medicine.
Basically, Bob was being scammed. I don't believe he had any idea of what was going on, and nobody could tell him different.
I probably lost in total about $50,000 to $75,000. I mean, when I say lost, it means I never met the women yet, and the money's gone.
After 40 years of marriage, I filed for divorce.
Since the divorce, I'm probably online 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. What I'm looking for is a woman that I could have a long-term relationship with, in fact, a marriage relationship with.
Robert needs help. In his mind, he's going to find a beautiful young woman, wealthy, who's going to share her fortune with him. They're going to ride off into the sunset, and maybe he'll send me something. He's just crazy.
Now Robert says he has not one, but a pool of several women who he texts several hours a day. He says he hopes one relationship will lead to marriage.
At this point, there's approximately a half dozen women that I have a strong interest in. This is Sophie Preston. I met her online about 2 years ago, and I've been talking to her ever since. Sophie lives in the Modesto area in California. Her father was Nigerian, her mother was American. She's a U.S. citizen, but she grew up in the United Kingdom, and she's a fashion designer. She could easily be my wife. Sophie is mute, and she was in an auto accident when she was like 10 or 12 years old. She lost her voice because of some damage, but that's repairable in the future. She just doesn't have the money to do the operation until she gets her inheritance. I've seen her passport, and I also talked to a friend of hers she went to school with in the United Kingdom, and I used that to help validate her. I've already sent Sophie about $10,000. Last time I sent her money was $1,000, and that was 2 days ago. She was supposed to send me a total of $50,000. And because I knew I was going to be here in California, I said, well, send some of it to here instead. So I needed the address for the hotel so I could then get delivery of that and then go cash the money order at Walmart or the post office. I have not seen any of it. This is April. We started to chat after she sent me an email. It was actually intended for somebody else. Related to some packages that she didn't get delivered. But I said, well, wait a minute, are you single and unattached? And she says, yes, why would you ask? And she told me about herself, and we chatted for the rest of the day. April and I are engaged. I made a proposal to her, and that's on the table. Right now, she's not in the country.
He falls in love with everyone he meets. He's on fiance 43 would be highly likely.
She's in the country of Tonga, which is a South Pacific island below the equator. She said, I dropped hot coffee on my computer. She was going to take her computer to a technician, but at that point, she didn't have the money to pay him to do it. Her company was willing to help, but they couldn't get her the money, and so she convinced them to send the money to me to send on to her. They sent me $3,800, and I bought gift cards to send to her, because nowadays, an awful lot of money transactions are done that way. A lot of them are scams, though. The gift cards I sent her were Nordstrom, I believe. I think in her particular case, I don't think she is scamming me. There's another lady in which I was also romantically interested in, dating back about 2 years. This lady is Jane. Her and her daughter are now being held in captivity. I would call it a compound in Levittown, New York. Her uncle is the one doing this. She refers to him as Uncle Danny. He told me his name is Gonzalez. That the house she's lived in is a fortress that has security guards with guns and attack dogs. She befriended a maid working in the house, and the maid let her use her phone. Then I said, can you call up Google Maps on your phone and then have it give you your coordinates? She tried to do that, but she says, this phone just won't do it. She says $200 will upgrade this phone. And from there, I can get on Google Maps and I can be out of here. So she's asked me for the $200. I said, I'm going to the FBI. The FBI agent took the report down, and I said, yeah, it could be a scam. I mean, I admitted to him that was a possibility, but I told him why I didn't think so. And he said he would pass it on. That's the last I heard.
For a man who's supposed to be smart, he is dumber than most.
You're concerned that he's being scammed.
Yes, I am very concerned.
And you're sensitive to this, but you've got a system where you weed out whether someone's being scammed or not.
Well, I do my best, but it's often failure.
Right. So what is it you're after? What is it you want to achieve in terms of relationship?
I want a woman to marry.
Why?
Because I don't like being alone.
Well, there's more to it than that, though, right? A candidate for you has to have certain qualities and characteristics, right?
Sure, to filter that down to somebody, that's correct. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, look, I'm a guy. I mean, to be honest, in generally, you're looking for somebody you're attracted to first, but that's not the only thing. I'm looking for somebody who has Christian beliefs, is committed, and I'm looking for somebody who is funny, smart, you know, intelligent, somebody I can have a rapport with, somewhat adventurous, sense of humor.
In a perfect world, you would like somebody that's young, attractive, interesting, funny, exotic, and rich.
Yes, if that's possible.
The finances are an important part because, as you say, you squandered all of your retirement for the two of you.
It is an important part.
And you found that out
The night before he underwent a triple bypass.
Wow. And you did it by presenting a credit card that you knew should have a zero balance.
I went to buy a cushion for him to lie on when he got out of the hospital. And I found out that that credit card was maxed out at $9,000 something. And I couldn't even buy a $49 cushion. So I went to him and he confessed that he had maxed that out and that he had maxed out 3 other credit cards so that we were now $40,000 in credit card debt.
And that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because you found out $40,000 was just the credit cards. In fact, he had been day trading and lost
all of it.
Everything. So what do you say to yourself when you're that upset and angry and then he's going into surgery, presumably life-saving surgery?
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I honestly didn't know whether I wanted him to survive or not.
So if you had gotten that $49 cushion, you might have used it to smother him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't have gotten the life insurance, so.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And you understood she was upset, right?
Well, yes, that would be normal. But the main part of the story I want to correct is I never used all of our savings on any other women. That never happens.
You have been sending money to women?
I have been, but I never used any of our savings. You see, any of that happened after
Where'd you get the money?
From my own income.
Well,
Social Security.
Let's be clear here. You were not sending any of our savings to women that you were romantically interested in, but you started with this scam business while we were still married and while I was still with you, because you had the woman who wanted to go to nursing school, and you had the person who posed as one of your former students. And we both tried to help those people. I began to realize it was a real scam setup.
That's correct.
And then once I left, you immediately began with the women. And the week after the divorce was final, he's asking me to help him figure out how to have a nest for his new fiance.
He asked you to help.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this needs a lot of correction. I don't know how much time you have here.
I don't
think I have
whether...
enough for you to correct all of that. But you said you had a way of filtering these out and kind of sorting out the scammers for the non-scammers.
Well, one way is when you ask for their image, you can search online to see if that image is showing up anywhere else using Google.
Right.
And if it shows up anywhere else under a different name, that's pretty much the end of the story right there as far as they're concerned.
All right. Well, Robert says he's talking to at least 5 different women in order to find the one. And I want him to explain the rationale behind his approach, and we'll talk about that when we come back. If she's a really good fashion designer, why is she homeless?
Her home was taken from her during the time her mother died.
How's she going to get access to it?
It involves a Nigerian company.
And later, she's homeless, but she's got a driver.
That's unclear to me too, actually.
I found that there were a lot of questions you didn't quite ask.
But I'm asking them now.
Okay, keep going.
I'm looking for somebody who's reasonably athletic looking, somebody who's got womanly features, the whole package.
In my ex-husband Robert's mind, he's going to find a young Marilyn Monroe who's got all the money in the world, and she's going to want to marry him at 70 years old.
Like, I'm really charming, that's why, you know.
He's definitely delusional. I think Bob is about as arrogant as they come. He thinks everybody thinks he's wonderful.
What I want to see from Dr. Phil is if there's any red flags that tell me to not pursue that particular woman, to move on.
Well, Robert says he began dating again after his 40-year marriage to his ex-wife, Jeremy, ended 3 years ago. However, one woman in particular, he says, he's ready to marry as soon as possible. That's Sophie. Now, you're really wanting to get as sophisticated as you can at weeding out real versus phony, right?
Of course.
You really want to know.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And that's why you're asking if I have input, you want to know what it is.
Well, I knew you had resources here. That's what.
Sure.
That's what my neighbor, Jill, she's the one who really contacted the show about it.
Right, right. And let's take a look at Robert's current pool of women, the 5. You know, one is Sophie Preston. There's April Jean. Then there's Jane Hodges. She's also known as Jane Stamper. Then there's Rosalind Randy, and then Wendy Rodriguez. And these women are kind of from all over the globe, or at least currently are scattered kind of all over the globe, right?
Yeah, they're various places. Mm-hmm.
And you said one of them is in Modesto, or is from Modesto?
Well, not in Modesto. She grew up in the United Kingdom.
But she's in Modesto now.
That's what she says. That's Sophie Young.
Okay, and you realize that's really close to here.
I do.
Did you ask her to come up and meet you here?
No, I'm talking about going to her. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I'd like it to happen.
Why would it not happen?
Because it has to be with her concurrence, and I haven't had enough conversation with her. That's a longer story, but the fact is that she's probably homeless right now and unable to get on the internet to communicate with me.
Okay. How have you been communicating with her? Has it been on the internet?
It's been on the internet like the others.
Have you talked to her on the phone?
I've never talked. She's mute.
This is the one that's mute?
She's mute. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but she has a friend that's not.
She has a childhood friend that I did communicate with, but only on chat, not on the phone.
She couldn't go to a library or internet cafe or somewhere and get on and type you a message? Or
well, I don't know her situation exactly, mostly because I can't communicate with her about why she doesn't have communication. It's kind of a tricky thing there. And the reason why she's homeless is because she expected to get her inheritance, and she was kicked out of her home because her mother died and did not leave the home to her. The mother left the home to her stepbrother.
Yeah. Well, she was born in 94 in the United Kingdom, so she's 25.
Right.
Are you concerned about the age difference?
I didn't actually know she was 25.
Yeah.
I knew she was probably under 40, but I don't really look that closely at the exact age.
She's mute. She used to live with her mom in, is it Ripon, California?
That's correct.
And currently in a homeless shelter, most likely, is what you're thinking. She has a U.S. passport and a California driver's license. Her father, Michael Preston's Nigerian, but he's deceased.
Correct.
And the father was CEO of United Crude Oil.
That's what I'm told.
And her mother, Jessica Phillip, was an American and was deceased last year.
Correct.
And her mother died while on a flight, right?
That's
and
correct.
Her body is in a morgue in Frankfurt, Germany.
That's correct.
In fact, almost all of these women's significant family members are deceased.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. And she has an attorney, this Bernard T. William, that lives in Ripon, California, that manages the inheritance.
Yes, but he's a conflict, and there's a good chance that he's actually been ripping her off as her attorney and not keeping his responsibilities as an attorney.
Okay. And she's a fashion designer?
She is. She's a very good one.
Yeah. And she sells to Miskay, which is an African company?
That's right. Not entirely. I don't know everything about her past business practices, but in recent times, that's been a person who's been selling her dresses and so forth.
And y'all met on a dating website, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you've been talking via text messages for 2 years, and she's expecting $50,000 in inheritance from her father.
She's expecting she's expecting $5.5 million from her father.
Okay, but she was going to send you $50,000.
Yes, because I've been sending her money, and
You've sent her like $8,000, something like that?
probably a little more, but most of that didn't get to her. There's no way for me to know that's true, but that's what I was told.
Yeah. If she's a really good fashion designer, why is she homeless?
She's homeless because her home was taken from her during the time her mother died. It was not in her name. So,
and if her father's leaving her $5.5 million.
She doesn't have access to it.
How's she going to get access to it?
Well, through my help along the line, and it involves a process which it involves a Nigerian company. That tells you something right there, right?
Tells me a lot. What do you think about that?
It's pretty incredible.
It's kind of like a soap opera, really. Mom's dead, dad's dead,
It is.
brother got the house, she's mute.
Well, that's only the half of it, actually.
And later, you are a loudmouth bully.
Play the other side of that conversation.
You heard the other side of the
No, I did
conversation.
not.
You don't run this show, I run the show.
Well, that's apparent.
Robert says he is currently focused on 5 women. What do you think about that?
It's pretty incredible.
It's kind of like a soap opera, really.
Yeah,
Right?
at least.
It is.
It's very busy. I mean, mom's dead, dad's dead,
It is.
brother got the house, she's mute.
And
I
I can
expect
tell you-
any minute for her to get amnesia.
And I can tell you you said it's like a soap opera. Well, that's only the half of it, actually.
Yeah, well, there's more. You're right. And here are some text message exchanges between Robert and Sophie. November 15th, Robert, here's the hotel address. Write it down. And he says Sheraton Universal Hotel, 33 Universal Hollywood Drive, Universal City, California. You're giving her this so she can send the money, right?
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Sophie says, I did, baby.
She meant she had the address written down.
If you sent it to her in a text, it already was written down. Why would she have to write it down?
I'm not sure. Actually, I have to think about that a little bit.
Just little things kind of jump out at me. Okay, then you said, my money just came. I'm off to the store across the street.
Me.
Right.
That's right.
What money just came?
Social Security check.
Oh, not from her.
No.
This other money.
No.
Okay. You're off to the store across the street to do what?
To send her money in the form of gift cards, which is a pretty common way now to transfer money from one to the other.
Okay, so as soon as you got your Social Security check, you're off across the street. I'm going to send you money.
That was pre-planned, you know.
Okay. And she says, okay, babe, are you there now? Like at the store? Meeting?
Yeah, or online. One of the
Okay.
two.
And then you said, I sent $500 worth, and now I'm told I need to send 500 more. What the hell are you people doing to me over and over again? So you're questioning, like, what are you doing here, right?
I am.
And she says, baby, I made payment of $750 the last time. I think that is why you remembered hacker took the fund on the card. I told you, babe, I'm so sorry.
I had new information about this.
So what is it?
It turned out that this money I just sent did not go to her or the right person. It turned out Bernard actually had the address. He took the money, and that was it.
Okay, her attorney robbed.
She told me this in the last few days.
Her attorney
Her
robbed her.
attorney, her so-called attorney.
Yeah, he robbed her.
Yes, and he'd been robbing her before, apparently, too.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens. Okay, then you said, I did it, but heaven help for what I've done. What's that mean?
It just means that I'm basically robbing from myself and my future to do that, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
and Sophie says, babe, I'm waiting for driver to pick me up. Babe, are there, the driver is here.
And that's the last thing I heard from her until a couple of days ago, after I was out here with you.
She's homeless, but she's got a driver.
No. Well, I'm not sure. That's unclear to me too, actually. But it's, but there's so many aspects to this. You know, focusing on that wasn't my.
Could be a cab.
Right. The focus on that wasn't my priority. More, I was worried about what happened to her.
Okay.
You know,
Because that's the last thing I actually heard from her. I mean, yes, I questioned that, but I'm questioning a lot about this, and that was a minor potatoes compared to the bigger issues.
It could have just
you
been
know,
a cab.
through all the years, when you're doing the science stuff, when you're doing the money stuff, I found that there were a lot of questions you didn't quite ask.
But I'm asking them now.
Okay, keep going. You're doing good.
Thank you. Then Robert says, okay, just tell me if they've actually handed you cash at the bank and the debit card. That will go a long way to making me happy right now.
Yes, because
You just want to know if it got to you.
Well, yeah, because once that happens, it means the whole thing is real. But until that happens, there's doubt, and in their case, considerable doubt as time goes on.
All right. Well, we did some sleuthing, and we found out some interesting things about Sophie Preston that I think Robert should know. That's after the break. This picture has been pasted on top of an existing passport.
I know that that's fraudulent. Another one was sent to me, though, that I don't think is fraudulent.
Don't tell me about a document you have that you didn't send me.
I've known Robert for about 3 years, and he was one of my neighbors. I have proven to him time and time again with multiple different women that these are scams.
Well, her first take is they're scammers until proven otherwise. I kind of take the opposite point of view. They're not scamming me until they're proven they're scammers.
His mental stability is all wrapped up in this, his identity, and he can't be wrong. If he's wrong, he fails.
It's exactly like someone taking their paycheck every week and going and playing the slot. They're sure they're going to get the money. They know this time is going to be the one, and then they can make up for the deficit that they have going on. I wrote the Dr. Phil show when he said, well, I'm actually going to food places during the day to eat where they serve a homeless lunch, and then at night I'm sleeping behind the church, so I'm safe. I feel that Dr. Phil is his last chance.
Okay, that was Jill, by the way. She's your friend, correct? And Jill, you're here. We'll talk to you in just a bit. And, you know, Jill points something out that I think is really interesting. And day trading is kind of gambling, right? It's very high risk.
It is.
Okay. And I kind of think you went from one high-risk situation to another high-risk situation is my point.
Okay.
You were looking for something there. You're looking for it in a different high-risk scenario now. But call it what you will. Okay, so Sophie Preston, we wanted to find out really who this mute beauty was. Mm-hmm. So we did some checking because you look at documents, as anyone should. Sure. You're quite right to do that. Mm-hmm. And you said you did look at her passport.
Yes.
And we did the same thing. Now, what we have here, this is a passport that is real. We know this one for sure, and I'm not saying this one isn't, I'm just saying we know this one sure because he works with us here, and I've known him for 20 years. So I know this person's for real, and so I know this is a legitimate passport. And so I put it up here so we can compare between the two. Now, one of the things that bothered me here is that there are two different names on this passport. Now, we had to block this out up here because we don't want to actually show the name, but this name starts with a J up here where they signed the passport, but the name on the passport down here that has been typed in is Sophie Preston. But the person that signed this passport is not Sophie Preston. It's up here, and it's a name that starts with a J. Then I looked at the picture, and we've blurred the picture out because I'll get to that in a minute. But you notice the picture is on top of the United States seal. In the actual passport, the seal is on top of the picture. And the reason that's a significant finding is because it tells you that this picture has been pasted on top of an existing passport because it's covering up the seal, whereas the seal encroaches on the picture in a real passport.
Can I comment on this? I have something to say. When you're ready.
Yes.
Okay, the passport you have, I know that that's fraudulent. But in the research that was done in sending documents to your people, I was sending a lot of stuff. So anything I found on my internet, on my computer, I was sending that out. I know that one was fraudulent. There was another one I'm not sure I ever found. In the speed of things, I sent that one out. I know that one's fraudulent. I found that out myself. And I know why it's fraudulent.
Tell me.
She's had 2 attorneys, okay? The first one, her first attorney wanted to get me convinced to move this along because he had money issues himself. When I confronted her and this guy, basically, she said, I've never seen that before. And so I said, okay, well, she's probably lying to me, but I said, let's find out. When I confronted him with it, he basically said he made it up and it was fraudulent. So I did know that was fraudulent already. Another one was sent to me, though, that I don't think is fraudulent. And it's unfortunate I didn't get that one to you.
Oh, you just forgot to give us that one.
No, I didn't find it. Look,
come on.
Look, we're talking about in a few days putting hundreds of things together on my computer.
Look, I can't help you if you just keep shooting yourself in the foot. Don't tell me about a document you have that you didn't send me.
I didn't find it. I found that one. I forgot I had 2.
Yeah, well, remember it next time, okay? This is fraudulent. You see, this is clearly fraudulent. The lines down here are red.
It's clearly fraudulent.
Real ones are black.
I recognize
the name's in a different font.
I recognize it in 5 minutes.
Okay, let's move on to something that you did send us on purpose. Okay?
Well, I sent that to you on purpose too, but I didn't look at it closely when I did it.
Oh, my goodness.
That's clearly fraudulent.
This is her driver's license.
Yeah, that's what he sent too.
Okay, you know this is fraudulent
Absolutely.
too. Okay, so she said you have a fraudulent passport and a fraudulent driver's license.
She didn't send it to me. Actually, this attorney did.
Show me a document that's not fraudulent.
Well, I don't have it on me. Your assistants were asking for information at a rapid-fire rate, so if mistakes were made, yeah, they were made.
Yeah, you were busy being belligerent. Well, while we're in commercial break, I want you to check out this tweet from Philip Horton talking about my podcast, Fill in the Blanks. Even those of us who are living success, this has helped further hone in on what's important. Always sharpen your life tools and keep an open mind. Well, yes, Philip, we continue to sharpen our tools with my next podcast guest, the extraordinary Cheryl Hunter, the 2-time New York Times bestseller, a life coach, and a TED Talker that rated in the top 4 on the Forbes list for the all-time best. She grew up on a Colorado ranch and yearned to know the world around her, and so she decided to become a model. She went to Europe where she met 2 men who promised to help her realize her dream. Instead, they kidnapped her, assaulted her, and then left her for dead. You're going to hear how Cheryl found a way to transcend this trauma and developed an educational model that has helped millions. So go ahead and subscribe and download Fill in the Blanks on Apple Podcast or Stitcher. My new podcast is out now, and you do not want to miss it. Show me a document that's not fraudulent.
Well, I don't have it on me. Do you understand that your assistants were asking for information at a rapid-fire rate over a lot of people in a very short period of time?
Yeah,
that I was not prepared.
because they care a lot about what happens to you.
Yes, and I was not prepared at that moment to do it. I had to do it very quickly, and while I was doing it, more requests came in. I was doing that as fast as I could. So if mistakes were made, yeah, they were made.
Yeah, you were busy being belligerent is the reason you were having trouble getting all your documents
Is that a fact?
together. Yes, that is a fact.
Oh, okay.
That is a fact.
It's your show.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at whether you were being belligerent or not. Let's just take a look.
I'm not going to use their name, period. It doesn't matter who you give me to. You could give me the head of the corporation. I'm still not going to do it. So we have an impasse here. I'm going to put the onus back on you. You have my story, and my wife's story, you have Jill's story. Wait a minute, you're talking over me. Stop talking over me. If you want the answer, you're going to have to let me talk, okay? We don't have a show then, because I'm not going to say their actual first name. My bottom line is I'm not going to mention their name.
Oh, I just got a text from Robert. He says, I decided you can use all the first names now.
What?
I know.
What? Are you serious?
I basically took a look at each person and their situation. Decided that I could do it. Of all the ones that got mentioned today, I reviewed each one and I'm okay with it now. Okay, very good. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
That's an example of belligerent?
Is it an example of belligerence?
If the camera followed you around and took a snippet anywhere they wanted to, what would they say about you? Ask anybody in this room, would they like to have everything they say recorded and then take it out of context?
Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
I want to be right, and I want this show to be right. I don't want to be wrong, would you?
I decided to let it pass, you being rude and belligerent and abusive with my staff, but if you want to take that to task, we can, because you are a loudmouth bully.
Did you have the other side of that conversation? You know, in a phone conversation.
Yeah, I got the other side of that conversation. You want to bully them, bully me, Buster.
Play the other side of that conversation.
You heard the other side of the conversation.
I did not.
You don't run this show, I run the show.
Well, that's apparent.
Yeah.
And so that puts you in complete control.
It absolutely puts me in complete control.
Good. Okay.
Now, do you want the information or do you not?
I do.
Okay. Robert explained to our producers that his girlfriend, Sophie Preston, lived with her mother, Jessica Phillip, in Northern California until her mother recently died.
Not quite.
Sophie Preston is now in a homeless shelter. Okay, you want to split hairs? Okay, okay, I'll give you the floor. Go ahead. Go ahead. Split hairs. We'll play semantics.
Because I don't know what you're going to do with that. So Sophie Preston grew up in England, moved with her family to California. She had to go back to Nigeria related to her father's death and issues related to her inheritance. Her mother went with her because her mother wasn't doing that well and couldn't stay back without her. Then she had to leave. Then she went to Nigeria, back to California, died on the way in Germany. And then Sophie went to her home. When her mother died, she found out she could not live there because it wasn't her home.
Okay, now let me finish because you haven't got the damn clue where I'm going. We sent a staffer to the town where Sophie Preston says she and her attorney live.
I'm glad you were thorough.
We sent a staffer to the town where Sophie Preston says she and her attorney, who is managing her inheritance, Bernard T. Williams, live, because there's nothing better than boots on the ground. So let's see what this investigation uncovered.
Dr. Phil wanted to see if we could confirm some information given to him by Robert, who got it from Sophie. We are trying to see who lives in these two addresses. The show has been told by Robert that Sophie and Jessica, her mother, used to live in this address. Hey guys, can you guys tell me if you've seen this woman?
Never. I've never seen her.
She lives in this house right here, 3 houses down. Well, she used to live with her mom. This is her mom. She had a small dog.
I have never seen that woman here down the street. We're out all the time. I would honestly knock on her door. She's lived here for years.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you recognize this woman?
No.
Have you ever seen her?
No.
The show has been told by Robert that Bernard, Sophie's attorney, lives at this location. Do you know who this man is?
Never met him before once in my life.
Never heard the name Brandon T. Williams?
No.
Have you ever seen this woman? Does she look familiar? Have you seen her?
No, I have never met her before.
Dr. Phil, it is safe to say that the people that live in the addresses that Robert gave you do not know who Sophie, Jessica, or the attorney are.
Okay, we went up and down the street,
Good.
and a lot of the people said, no, I would remember this girl.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would remember her. We have people that lived this street for like 30 years.
I don't doubt your research.
And said, neither one of them ever existed in that city, on that street. Talk to people that have lived there their entire lives. Neither one of them have ever been there.
I'm glad you were thorough.
So that's a lie.
Yes.
They never lived there.
It seems so.
So the summary findings that we have regarding Sophie Preston are that we also check to see if there is a Sophie Preston in California or the United States with the date of birth that she is given. The answer is no. So we wanted to know, there's United Crude Oil in Nigeria or the UK. And we located one United Crude Oil in Wilton, Connecticut. It's been out of business since the early 2000s, has no connection with anybody associated with Sophie Preston then or later. There is no Sophie Preston that sells to Miss K Boutique in Nigeria. There are 3 Miss K locations in Nigeria. We talked to all of them, and no one by this name has ever done any business with any of those locations.
Well, the damning part is going to address. That's the part. The name of this company actually isn't accurate, but I assume they would know because it's close enough. It was actually Mrs. K in that boutique that I know. Anyway, the other part is United Crude Oil. Yeah, that's pretty damning. The other part of it is the date of birth business. I was told that if you were born in the UK, that might not show up in the usual databases, but there's enough there to draw the conclusion that you drew.
For 40 years. For 40 years.
Well, I've been married 43 years, and my wife says some of them feel like dog years too, so I understand there. Robert is still talking to 4 other women, April Jean, Jane Hodges among them. Robert may be thrilled to know what we found out about her next.
The Dr. Phil Show has been told by Robert that April Jean lived in this house before she had to leave for a freelance architecture job in Tonga.
Well, we're out of time today, but there's so much more to this mystery that we have just started to unravel. Believe me, you're going to want to stay tuned because we found April Jean, and boy, does she have a lot to say.
Next time on Dr. Phil, he has 5 online girlfriends.
None of them exist.
Is he being scammed?
You sent her about $5,000?
Related to the gold, yeah.
But you never got the gold?
No, he got arrested before that happened.
If there is a 25-year-old multimillionaire gorgeous girl out there, she ain't looking for you. You understand what I'm telling you?
Well, I understand that you're
being used. The woman that you think is April Jean is actually this woman.
That's next time.
I'd like to thank all of my guests today. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I do read your comments and questions. Now, Sinead Brown tweeted out to me to say, the classification of your TV show has caused a rift in a 3-year friendship. Please confirm if your TV show is a reality show or a talk show. Now, I'm open to coming on to the show to discuss this. Kind regards, Sarah and Sinead. Now, okay, it's actually not a show. If you look, this is called Dr. Phil. It's not called the Dr. Phil Show. It's just called Dr. Phil. And that's by design. It's not a Dr. Phil show, it's just Dr. Phil. So that's your answer. I don't know if that's going to solve your problem. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.
Today on Dr. Phil.
My son Oren thinks he's a cyborg.
Part man, part machine from the year 2050.
Hey Oren, can I turn on the light? It's a little dark in here.
We prefer dark in here.
I also made lasagna.
We are not hungry. Thank you.
What you will see is not his real body. It's just a shell.
There is a brain implant, which is how we speak to you right now.
Oren, you don't have a brain implant.
You say if you have a job, you can't spread your message.
Correct. Our job is spreading the message.
I have a job and spread my message. I mean, it works for me. It just all seems illogical.
Is any of this getting through to you, Oren?
Of course, we are listening.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Okay, Anita wrote in about her 24-year-old son, Oren. She says that 2 years ago, he graduated at the top of his class from NYU's Stern School. It's a highly ranked business school. Now, his plan was to go into finance and work on Wall Street. But Anita says all of that changed in an instant when her son suddenly announced that he is, and always has been, a cyborg. Well, that's right. You heard me correctly. And Oren believes he is a mechanized cyborg, part man, part machine, sent back in time from the year 2050 by higher beings. Now, he claims his mission is to try and stop the apocalypse. His mother, Anita, admits that while she's bothered by Oren's cyborg persona, it's actually not her main concern. She says all she really wants is for Oren to get a paying job. And let me say, whenever I get this kind of letter, I always take this very seriously because it can be somebody just kind of putting on. It can be a very serious mental illness. And I always treat all of our guests with dignity and respect. So I ask all of you here to do the same thing because I don't know where this is coming from. We'll see as it unfolds. Take a look.
Who is it?
It's your mom.
Enter.
Hey, Oren, can I turn on the light? It's a little dark in here and I can't see.
Dark in here.
Huh?
We prefer dark in here.
My son Oren thinks he's a cyborg from the year 2050.
Mother,
just come down.
You are
just
disturbing
come down.
our operations.
Listen,
we are receiving
just come
programming.
down.
We are watching video. We are learning.
Learning what?
About the future.
Oren has robotic movements and robotic speech. It's a glitch, like he's a computer.
Your intensity will be matched as we try to save you and everyone that we know.
He talks in a collective, everything is we. He hasn't said I in over a year.
We are alone in this. No one else was chosen to do what we are doing.
We need to, save the planet from sudden doom. Cyborgs are part machine, part man, but I gave birth to Oren and he is flesh and blood. I also made lasagna downstairs and I wanted to know if you could, join us.
We are not hungry. Thank you.
Oren on the plane was astro traveling. Every time I turned around to check on him to make sure he was okay, he was zoned out. Astro traveling is where he travels to another dimension where he gets instructions from the higher beings. To me, it looks like he's sleeping.
There is an apocalypse in the future. We have seen it in our dreams and in our visions.
2 years ago, he graduated from NYU Business School with a 3.9 GPA. This isn't the young man that I saw walk across the stage when he graduated. He's changed. He wanted to come back home, and I told him, of course, with the understanding that he would get a job. From that point on, it just spiraled.
We are still in that process of gaining full employment.
That was a year ago, honey. That was a year ago.
Things do not happen overnight.
He was not looking for work. Oren is on his computer all day, and he very rarely comes down from his room.
Welcome to our headquarters.
I know that he's not a cyborg, but he believes he is here to save the planet.
You say this has been going on for about 2 years.
Yes.
But when he's just around the house, just hanging around, is he always in cyborg mode?
He's always in cyborg mode.
So he never just comes in and says, hey, Mom.
No.
In looking back, are there things that you recognize now with the benefit of hindsight where you saw atypical thinking or unusual behaviors or identifications when he was growing up?
I never saw anything.
Did you ever notice that in times of stress or conflict that he would seem to withdraw or disassociate in some way?
He started that once he came back home after college. There were certain expectations when he came home that I wanted him to be a part of, helping me around the house and taking out the garbage and helping me, clean up and helping with groceries. And he would just usually tell me that he's working, he's busy, and that he is on his computer, and sometimes would ask me to leave his room.
But he would isolate?
Yes, he would be in his room from early in the morning to 4 o'clock the next morning. He would be in his room working on, whatever it is that he does on his computer.
So you don't think he has a mental illness?
No, not at all.
So if it's not a mental illness, what would motivate this kind of atypical behavior?
Well, one of the things that he knew that I wanted him to do was find a job, and he hasn't done that. And so, if he can claim that he's a cyborg and so forth and not have to enter into, having a real job like the rest of, the kids out there who graduate from college.
But he's pretty committed to this.
He's
He's stuck with this for a couple of years. Orrin agreed to leave his bedroom, stop downloading content to his mainframe,
right,
and come here today. But it's a compromise. Orrin says what you will see today is not his real body, it's just a shell. So if he didn't have this shell on, we would be afraid. So he's doing this so we don't fear him. So we're going to meet Orrin after the break. We'll be right back.
Orrin was going to enter the Matrix. Orrin was going to become a broker, work a 9 to 5, have kids, get married, die. A higher civilization sent us back in time. You might describe them as aliens.
And later,
you've got 2 younger siblings underneath you who are watching this. What, so that they're supposed to go to college and then end up just sit up?
At least they would go to college. If anything, we are a role model, showing that we are not letting detractors distract us from our greater vision.
Orrin, this is all nonsensical.
If
this
you
doesn't
have a
make
vision,
any
believe
sense.
in it.
When Orrin was small, he had a fascination with a movie called The Matrix. He seemed to identify with the main character, Neo. Neo's character is there to, I guess, uncover this world that was virtual, and therefore he somehow goes into this computer program. Orrin must watch The Matrix at least once a week. I believe that is the thread that maybe might be running through him believing that he's a cyborg.
Well, 2 years ago, Orrin says he was awakened to the fact that he is a cyborg from the future sent back from the year 2050 to prevent the destruction of our planet.
Welcome to our headquarters. Hello, we are Orrin, a digital and collective conscious and cyborg from the year 2050, sent by a higher civilization to save mankind from the Matrix. We refer to ourselves as we because individuality has created rift between people. How will they know who we are if we do not do what we do? If we do not accumulate resources through the internet?
Right.
You are not making very much sense to us.
Okay.
The turning point for us was leaving college. Orrin was going to enter the Matrix. Orrin was going to become a broker, work a 9 to 5, have kids, get married, die.
There are a lot of people right now who have a full-time job and then they do the other endeavors that they want to do.
This is
And
not an
so-
endeavor, this is a mission, this is a purpose. But we realize we must now wake up the human conscious to the perils that corporations and humans themselves are creating. And now the new threat, artificial intelligence. We always knew that we were different. This body is our current form. We believe that we can take other forms. We do not want to alarm humanity, which is the reason we have taken this shape. We would like to become fully mechanized when the time is right. A higher civilization sent us back in time. You might describe them as aliens. We prefer to stay in our headquarters, which has been created and customized for our experience. The lasers that are pointing on our face are just based for stimulation and to create an environment through which we can work. We usually only have water. At times we have smoothies. We try not to eat, for most of the food that we eat is poisoned. This is an acai bowl, which has antioxidants and comes from Brazil, the rainforest. We're not a fan of bananas, so we will remove those. There is tension between our mother and us. The issue is our lack of matriculation into the real world, into the corporate world, into becoming a productive member of society. We're not here to fulfill someone else's dreams. We are here to complete our vision. This is our job. It is a 24/7 job to spread awareness, to take time out of our schedule to come here to LA and speak with Dr. Phil. We are busy.
So why did you take time out to come here?
Because we wish to spread our message.
Uh-huh. And give me the principal tenets of your message.
We are a collective conscious and a cyborg sent from the year 2050, sent from a higher civilization to warn people of the incoming apocalypse.
How will it end?
With environmental disaster, technological singularity, disease, and famine.
Mm-hmm. And will you fall victim to that demise at the same time, the collective you?
Our body will, the Orin, real Orin body will, but the collective will stay alive.
Uh-huh. And the collective will exist in what plane? I mean, will the planet still be here?
The planet will be destroyed.
Okay. Will you be mechanized by then?
We are already mechanized.
But you're not mechanized now.
We are. There is a brain implant, which is how we speak to you right now. Orin is but a shell.
Okay.
Or you don't have a brain implant.
So as you sit here now, you're mechanized.
Correct.
Okay, because I thought I understood you to say that you are becoming mechanized.
Yes. We will become fully mechanized, as in the commercial sense shown on our shirt.
Okay,
But we are already mechanized.
But not fully?
No.
Okay, just partially mechanized.
Correct.
What part of you is mechanized?
Our brain, our legs.
Okay, your legs are mechanized?
Inside, yes. We've had
Okay.
operations.
Okay, so if we x-ray your legs, we would see mechanized legs, not bone and muscle.
Correct.
Would not be the
It
same.
is a combination of flesh and steel.
Right.
We are not saying that we are invincible. We are saying that we have merged with technology, with machine,
Right.
in order to stay alive.
I've got really crappy knees, so I
Understood.
would love to have mechanized legs. It'd be a great thing. What do cyborgs do for fun?
Learn.
What do cyborgs think is humorous?
We do not know.
Are any cyborg jokes, like three cyborgs walked into a bar?
Humans think that the world will last forever. That is a lie. That is funny.
Yeah. Okay. Do you form relationships?
Yes. We must get out our message and collaborate with people.
And you say you don't want to tie yourself up with a job because if you have a job, you can't spread your message.
Correct. Our job is spreading the message.
I have a job and spread my message. I mean, it works for me. And that's why you do your music, right?
Correct.
When did you find that you had musical talent? Have you always had that awareness?
There's always been an interest in sonics, yes. Humans are innately connected to rhythm and beat.
Do you enjoy the music?
It is pleasing, yes.
All right, well, let's take a break. Anita says one of Orin's cyborg abilities is talking to the dog. Orin claims he knows the correct pitches and frequencies for human-dog communications. We'll be right back.
Out in London, France, well, girl don't need a man. You flex because you can.
We created a digital persona to speak the language of the youth and of humanity.
My son basically has these two personas, which is a cyborg versus this rap artist.
Pockets on the die, you be living large, credit never charged, but it's hard to stay sharp.
We are using music and entertainment as a tool to open up people's awareness.
And later, you have a collective 5,000 years of plastic there that has to biodegrade. But yet you want me to believe that you're here as a role model sent to save our environment.
We are not perfect.
Oh my goodness.
Our mother can be irritating because she's a detractor from the work that we are trying to do. She is not 100% supportive of what we wish to do. She does not believe that we are a cyborg. She does not believe that we are creating a platform. Our mother is trying to force us back into a system that we wish to dismantle, that we are dismantling. We want our mother to understand that we are sacrificing our comfort for the greater good of humanity.
Well, Oren says he spends all day in his room researching and crafting the perfect social media persona to spread the word that the world is going to end if things don't change, and change now. Take a look.
Yeah, I tried. I told you down the right.
Our mission right now is to save humanity from themselves. We created a digital persona to speak the language of the youth and of humanity.
My son has these two personas, a cyborg versus this rap artist.
Chillin' with bosses and they do the shoulder up. With a bad bitch and she give me the shoulder up.
He uses as the conduit to get out his cyborg agenda.
We are using music and entertainment as a tool to open up people's awareness to the problems about society. The three phases to communicate are phase 1, which is awakening, phase 2, which is awareness, and phase 3, which is implementation. We are currently in phase 2,
telling people that they are being lied to and poisoned.
We have been awakened by the higher civilization for our purpose and duty to save humanity.
Oren uses his rap persona to get the message out to his followers. This is the way that he is able to change the way people think. What's this video called?
By My Side. It depicts how we were created, where we come from, what the higher intelligence asked us to do.
He's not making any money. I think that young men of this era, they kind of all want to be rap artists. So to me, he didn't go through 4 years of one of the top schools in the country to become a rap artist.
Okay, what do you think about what he said so far and what our conversation has been?
I think it's nonsense. I mean, Oren, you're wasting your life right now in your bedroom, living in a fantasy bubble. You're not a cyborg. You're my son, I love you, but you're not a cyborg. And we can't live like this anymore. And you've got two younger siblings underneath you who are watching this. What, so that they're supposed to go to college and then end up doing, you know, the same thing, that they can just sit up
At least they would
in
go
my
to
house?
college.
Huh?
At least they would go to
Yeah,
college.
but it's, the whole point of
We are
going to
providing a
college
message for
is
them.
that you continue on your journey. And
If
that
anything,
you
we are a
have
role model,
career.
showing that we are not letting detractors distract us from our greater vision.
Oren, this is all nonsensical.
If
this
you have a
doesn't make
vision,
any
believe in it.
sense. This is a vision that is not based in reality. You're not living
Who
in
is
a
based in
realistic.
reality?
You're living in my you're living in my home, and you're not contributing. It's not realistic.
Let me ask you a few questions. You say you come from the future, and one of the things that you would know from a scientific standpoint is that you have to consider all data points. You have to consider everything. You don't prejudge anything, right? You gather data. Is it possible that you're delusional?
No. To you, we might be, but to us, we make perfect sense.
Well,
Can we give you an example?
That wasn't the question. The question is it possible?
Anything is possible.
Okay, that's what I expected you to say, because if you're at a higher order of thinking, and you're approaching this from an objective and scientific way, you have to account for the possibility that your thinking is delusional.
Correct.
You can't dismiss that.
Correct.
You were going to give me an example.
Forget it.
Okay, because I'm trying to find out, you're coming from the future, what is a message that's new?
Artificial intelligence.
There's nothing novel about artificial intelligence. You know about artificial intelligence because of what you've seen, read, and heard. You know, here are your cyborg predictions and beliefs. An artificial intelligence takes over the planet. Well, according to James Lovelock, a famed environmentalist, artificial intelligence will soon overwhelm us and remake the world. That didn't come from 2050. That's a very well-publicized position today by Dr.
But that
Lovelock.
is if our goals and artificial intelligence goals are aligned. A lack of alignment could mean that they break out.
You said we're going to run out of natural resources, crops, and food. Well, according to the World Economic Forum, by 2050, 9 billion are headed towards food security crisis. That's nothing new. Tell me something I don't know that comes from 2050.
You are making the assumption that everybody has these same principles and values, that everybody has read these articles.
No, I'm making the assumption that you know about it because you did read the articles.
Correct. We do know
Not
this.
because you got it from the year 2050. And you said something that I found really interesting when we were interviewing you. And because you're from the future, but listen to something that you said.
Mother,
Just come down.
you are
Just come
disturbing
down.
our operations. We are receiving
Just come
programming.
down.
We are watching video. We are learning.
Learning what?
About the future.
You said you're learning about the future. I thought you were from the future.
We must still inform ourselves.
There's a reason I'm pointing all of this out, and I'm going to talk about what that is after the break. It just all seems illogical if you're serious about what you want to accomplish.
Is any of this getting through to you, Warren?
Of course, we are listening.
And later, do you miss your sister? Do you miss spending time with her?
We live in the same house.
Mm-hmm. Now answer my question.
I do enable my son, Oren. I am paying for most of the things for Oren. He rarely eats, but when he does, I'll pay for the food. And sometimes I will pay for the water, help him with his laundry. This summer, I had enough. I had asked him to leave, which was hard. He was supposed to go. I'd given him deadline day, and really it was on me that I back-channeled, told him that he could have more time.
I look at details, and I was looking at, she says you're in your room all the time. So I was looking at this picture of your room, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plastic water bottles in your room. And you're a role model. Do you know how long it takes for a plastic water bottle to biodegrade?
Educate us.
About 1,000 years. So you have a collective 5,000 years of plastic there that has to biodegrade. But yet you want me to believe that you're here as a role model sent to save our environment.
We are not perfect.
Oh my goodness.
We also own a Swell bottle.
You also what?
Own a Swell bottle.
What's that?
It is a reusable and recyclable bottle that we can fill up that keeps the temperature cold or hot depending on what the temperature of the liquid is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We call that a thermos.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the reason that this is of importance to me. If you really are passionate about the things that you're talking about, you could have a whole lot greater impact by approaching this in a way that would be taken more seriously than telling people that you're a cyborg, even if you are. And it would seem if higher beings had sent you back to accomplish a task, you would want to do it in the most efficient way possible. It just all seems illogical if you're serious about what you want to accomplish.
Is any of this getting through to you, Warren?
Of course, we are listening.
Okay.
When you were younger, the Oren before the collective consciousness, you said you always wished you had superpowers like teleportation and were accepted at Hogwarts instead of settled for business school. Is it possible that in your mind you've created your own personal Hogwarts?
Doesn't everyone have their own personal Hogwarts? Their own safe space, imaginary? The world is difficult, hard to get through?
I think you're probably right. And the thing to do is manage that in such a way that you can be most effective. Because you say you're a cyborg, but you're actually an entitled cyborg because you don't have a job. You're not pulling your own weight in the here and now, and you're not achieving what you say you were assigned to do. Oren's sister, Samantha, says Oren and their mom have always had a rocky relationship, but tensions in their home have reached an all-time high ever since Oren announced he was a cyborg. We're going to meet Samantha after the break.
When Oren first told me he was a cyborg, I thought he was joking. I'm surprised my mom has been this patient.
Why don't you get a couple of these water bottles in the bag, take them outside for the recycling?
We're busy.
I feel like my brother might be at his tipping point because I've never seen it get this bad. My brother, thinking he's a cyborg, creates tension in the house.
I'm making something. Would you like something to
No.
eat? Okay.
We have water.
My mom and my brother are like constantly arguing because all he does is spend time in his room. When Oren first told me he was a cyborg, I thought he was joking. I think that something is wrong with him. I feel like Oren has a valid message, but the way he goes about it is kind of off. I think something maybe happened in college that could have triggered the reason why he believes he's a cyborg. He was always pretty quirky, but I feel like it's been taken to the extreme with the robotic stuff. He used to be fun and energetic because we would always go out to the beach, and now there's no time for that, I guess. Oren has told me that he went to the future in 2050 and he's seen everything. Oren said he has seen the end of the world and that technology has taken over. I usually walk away when he says stuff like that because it usually upsets me and frustrates me sometimes. I'm surprised my mom has been this patient.
Why don't you get a couple of these water bottles in the bag, take them outside for the recycling?
Tomorrow.
Why don't you do that now?
We're busy.
You're not busy. If you want to save the world, you should recycle.
I feel like I expected him to get a job since he went to a good college. No one has really expected him to want to become a rapper, much less a cyborg. I feel like my brother might be at his tipping point because I've never seen it get this bad. He doesn't eat, he doesn't interact with anyone anymore, and it's starting to worry me. I feel disconnected from Oren. I want to be closer like how we were before. I miss my brother Oren, and I want him back.
You say you miss your brother. What do you miss?
We would laugh a lot. We would hang out with my other sister, and I just feel like it's been such a long time since I've had that, and like I don't really feel cherished. You know, to have a sister.
He doesn't cherish his family.
Yeah.
Like we're not important to him.
Do you miss your sister? Do you miss spending time with her?
We live in the same house.
Mm-hmm. Now answer my question.
We were all flown out to Los Angeles together. We went to the Santa Monica Pier yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That can be rekindled.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time in months where we've actually spent time together.
Usually
Did you enjoy the time you spent with her?
It was pleasant, yes.
Do you think that your mother enables him?
She is a really nice person, and so I feel like she's really patient. But I wouldn't call her an enabler because I've seen her like try to kick him out, and like I feel like it's also my responsibility that he's still not doing what he needs to do because I was, I made her feel like for like wanting to kick him out. So, well, I feel like we're all guilty. Like,
but she tells him to get a job, but she doesn't enforce it. She pays for everything, rent, food. I mean, you pick up all the bills, right?
Yes.
You support him because you've never been close and there's been difficulties in the relationship.
Yes.
So you're kind of parenting out of guilt and fear.
That is true.
Why were you strained in the past?
I was married to his father, and then that relationship ended, and I remarried with Samantha's dad, and Orrin had a very difficult time with that transition. He went to live with his grandparents for a while. And it was difficult on me because I wanted him home, but he just couldn't deal with the new family and new husband and so forth. So when he said that, he needed to come back home to regroup and to get himself together, I welcomed him with open arms.
It's very reasonable. It's very reasonable, but the question is, what do you do now?
That's why we're here, Dr. Phil.
I'm going to tell you what I think after the break.
What is reality, though?
That's my point. You can decide that, but there's no question, there's no fuzziness about whether you're a cyborg or whether you're not. That is definable. We've agreed that you have to consider every possibility, right? And if in fact something that has happened in your life or is happening in your life has caused you to escape into an exaggerated belief or reality, you would want to know that, right?
Potentially, yes.
Because if in fact your wires were crossed and you weren't a cyborg, but you just had a really good mission and value system, you would want to hang on to the value system,
but remove the bad parts.
Yeah, but remove the bad parts, remove the misbelief that you're something you're not. And one possibility that you have to consider is, and I can't diagnose sitting here, but I can tell you what would be on my short list. One thing is delusional disorder, which is grandiose type. And the central theme is the conviction of having some great unrecognized talent or insight or having made some important discovery. And that very much describes what we're talking about here, right? And so you have to ask yourself, is this normal or abnormal? And you say, I don't think this is a mental illness, and I'm not into labels, but let's just talk about what's normal or abnormal. To me, normal is something that does not interfere with healthy functioning and pursuit of goals. You can believe you're a kumquat if it doesn't interfere with healthy functioning and pursuit of goals. But if you believe something or you're doing something and it interferes with healthy functioning and pursuit of goals, then it's abnormal, which means it's change-worthy. Yes, sir.
You put on the board grandiose or delusion. Is not everyone delusional? Does not everyone believe that they have some special talent or hidden recognition to get them through the day? What is so different about us than everyone else?
Well, what I put up next, which was normal or abnormal, somebody can believe that they're unique or special, but does it interfere with healthy functioning and pursuit of goals?
We are pursuing our goals.
Well, then we flip back to the delusional part. And What I'm saying is you have decided that you're a cyborg and you need to be willing to test that reality and see if it's true. Because if you're not a cyborg, if that's just something that has blurred the lines of fantasy and reality, that line has been blurred, then you
What is reality, though?
That's my point. You can decide that, but there's no question, there's no fuzziness about whether you're a cyborg or whether you're not. That is definable. You say, I am a partially mechanized cyborg, and that's determinable. So what's to be done here? I'm going to give away my thoughts next. You ask a question, what is reality? And, that's like define the universe and give me two working examples. I mean, reality is perception. It's what people perceive it to be.
So your perception of us is no more real than our perception of ourselves?
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. And I don't want to challenge your reality unless it interferes with your health and well-being, your family relationships, your functioning in the here and now. But it is, so I want to test the reality of some of the things you believe. I would think this would be something you would very much want to put in your database, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. Are you willing to do this?
Warren, do it for us, please. Just do it for your sisters.
We would need to be back in New York by Thursday night.
I'm not trying to force you into something. I want to do this with you, not to you, so we'll talk about scheduling immediately after. If you're down to do it, we'll work out the scheduling where it works out for you.
Understood.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Okay. All right. I want to thank all of my guests today. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, you can check out this tweet written by superfan Erica. She writes, I hope that Dr. Phil lives forever. Yeah. Well, I'll just be happy to make it to 2050. If I can do that, I'm good. Which could be a stretch. Let's see. I don't know. We'll see. Listen, I read all your comments on Facebook and Twitter, so keep them coming. I really enjoy communicating with you guys. We'll see you next time.